Okay, going back into my documents folder. Next one I want to show you is down here, close to the bottom, the submittals folder. This is one, especially as crew leaders, you guys are probably going to want to find something in here that you can set up to sync for depending on what you're working on. As most of you guys probably know, for every job that we do, we usually have to, before we buy a lot of the bigger equipment and more expensive stuff, send a submittal to the general contractor, who then sends it to the architects and engineers, where they take a look at it. It's basically a detailed cut sheet of exactly what we're going to provide for the job, and that way they can review it and know if what we're buying is exactly what they want before we actually buy it. But it also has, this is where you're going to get all the information you could ever possibly want about light fixtures. All that'll be in the light fixture submittal. Lighting controls, all that'll be in the lighting control submittal. The gear for the job will all be in the gear. So if you're looking for, how deep is this panel board that I'm putting in? Is it going to fit in this space? You'll want to refer to the gear submittal for that. If you want to look at the specifics of how a light fixture is mounted, that information will be in the light fixture submittal. I'm going to go in real quick, open up right here where it says light fixtures and lighting controls. I'm going to open that up. And you'll see in here a few different folders and several files. The folders mostly are not going to be where you're going to want to go. Just to briefly go over them. Submitted means that it's a submittal we've sent into the general contractor. Submittal drafts are ones we're still working on that haven't been ready to go to the general contractor. Return submittals are after they come back from the general contractor and they're either rejected, approved, we got to revise and resubmit them, however they mark them, we put them in there. The one thing you probably will want to look at, though, is this one right here, Master Light Fixture Submittal. That's going to be, just like the progress set is the latest and greatest complete set of drawings for the job, the Master Light Fixture Submittal is going to be our latest and greatest light fixture submittal for the job that has everything included for it. You can see up here, it's 184 pages long. That's got, a schedule of all the light fixtures, and then it gets into the fixtures themselves, giving me details on them, everything from the size, the voltage, dimming, all that kind of stuff. All of that's located in here.
Can you hit your little blue ribbon and?
Yep, I can pull out to the side, and these will usually have bookmarks also to be able to easily navigate through it. The bookmarks are usually put in there by our supplier, so whoever we're buying the light fixtures through. Most of them are pretty good about it. Depending on who we buy them through, we might, if it's someone who we don't normally go through, they might not bookmark it for us. But as a general rule, you should expect to see them bookmarked. So like I was saying, it's 184 pages long. If I want to find a type R1 fixture, instead of swiping through the whole thing until I find a type R1, I can just go right here to type R1. It's going to take me right there, which makes it just a lot quicker and easier to navigate. I don't have to remember it's on the 101st page of this 184 page long document. I don't have to look through everything to try to find it. But just like we've got the light fixture submittal, we've also got the gear submittals. Whatever you've got on your job site, the submittal will depend on what the job has. So if you're not installing any new gear, you're not going to have a gear submittal. If you're not installing a generator, you're not going to have a generator submittal, that kind of stuff. I don't have a UPS out at 1900 N Street, so I'm not going to have a UPS submittal. But if I did, I'd have one in there. So I can't really go into specifically what you're going to see in this folder as far as which submittals they'll be, because it depends on the job. But just know that this is where the best information about the stuff that we're actually installing is usually going to be found, because this is where all of our submittals are. So if you're installing light fixtures, it's probably a good idea for you to have the light fixture submittal synced for you at all times, that kind of stuff. Couple other folders I'm just going to go through real quick, not getting a whole lot in detail. We've got the prefab folder. This is where this is a folder that's used a lot by the warehouse when they're building stuff. This is where, as a foreman, I'll put drawings that are ready for the prefab folder to actually start building off of. Prefab plans will go in here. This is usually where Billy and Craig will go to look to pull up drawings that they want to, any prefab information that they've got will come in here. It might be a good idea if you're a crew leader installing a lot of prefab, might be a good place to go back and refer to, because that'll give you, you'll be able to see exactly what the warehouse was building and what the instructions they had to build off of was. Another one, RFIs. You know, I'm sure all of us have run into RFIs at various points on the job site where, you know, we have a question to ask and we send it in to the general contractor and they give us some official information back because the drawings aren't clear enough. RFIs are always going to be stored within the RFI folder. Similar to how the individual submittal folders were broken up, you got FBH RFIs, which is as we're writing them and before we submit them to the general contractor, this is where we store them. Pending RFIs are ones we've submitted to the general contractor. We're waiting for an answer back from them. And then responses will be the responses that we've gotten back from the general contractor. A lot of times, you know, you can go in there and look through there all you want and see what's in there. A lot of times they might not, especially on a larger job where there's a lot of different crew leaders, probably most of them won't apply to specifically what you're working on, but probably something in at least one or two of them will apply to what you're working on. If we get RFIs back, it's usually the foreman's responsibility to let the crew leaders know that we've got an RFI that affects what you're working on. And a lot of times we're also putting them on the drawings themselves. So let me pull up an example of that. Going into my progress set, my electrical. Right down here, actually this is the submittal for it, but you can see where it says, click here to review master wiring device submittal for colors of devices. I can tap on that and it should open up, oh, that submittal is not saved there anymore. Should have opened up the submittal itself. I will show you how it works on a RFI. So right here where it says RFI 338, this is an electrical drawing that shows electrical power throughout my garage. But I know that it says it right on the drawing, RFI 338, electrical requirements for mechanical fans. If I tap on that, it should open up the RFI right there that gives me that electrical requirements. So it's got it there. Now, the way it was able to open that up is because that RFI folder is saved on my iPad. I have it downloaded. If I had access to the internet, it would also be able to download it. It'd take a few extra seconds to do it because it's got to download it. But if you have, for example, your wireless internet or your wireless data turned off, it wouldn't be able to open that up unless you already had it downloaded on there. So that's another example of one reason why you might want to have it turned on most of the time. But you should see on your drawings occasionally, if you get RFIs, especially ones that change a lot of what's going on in that drawing, that you'll be able to tap that and open it up and find your RFIs. If you know that an RFI is out there that you don't have a link to on your drawing like that, you can always go into the RFI folder and look them up in the responses. The last thing I wanted to get into in the RFI folder, which might be something some of you guys look into, is we have an RFI template file right here. This is the template of the RFIs. This is what the form that we use when we submit RFIs to the general contractor. Most of the time, this is something that will be used by the foreman or the project manager, but it's I wanted to show it to you guys because it's something that if you run into a situation, you might be able to volunteer to the project manager or the foreman, hey, I can write that RFI up for you if you want me to. Say you're working on wall roughing and there's a circuit that doesn't have a receptacle, doesn't have a circuit number, and you need an answer on it. Instead of going to trying to describe to the foreman what you need, it might be easier for you to just write it up yourself, give it to the foreman, let them review it, and then they can send it. It's something to help take some work off of their plate, but also since you guys are the ones installing stuff, you probably know the question a little bit better than them anyway. The template is I'm gonna go over it real quick. It's just, filling out the date of when we submit it. Usually that's something that might be done by the foreman or project manager. The subject line is a brief description of what the RFI is about, receptacle, circuit number for receptacle in pantry, or location for light in the hallway, something like that. It doesn't need to be real specific, but just general enough that when someone looks at it, they can get an idea of what it is. Drawing is if there's any drawing that that this is referencing. If it's about a receptacle on drawing E102, put E102 in there. That way the whoever's reviewing the RFI can easily find what information you're looking at. Then down here in the body of it, when I tap it'll open up a text box. This is where you actually write up what your question is and what the question is. I'm not going to get into details of how to write RFIs. That's something for a different time, but just know that we have access to this template and that you guys can write up RFIs on here if you want to or if you need to. If you got a question that needs answering, it might be a good idea to help your foreman out by doing it. But it's something I'd talk to the foreman about before you get too much into it. any questions on RFIs, anything within the file structure or anything related to that? I'm going to get into next how to set up drawings to sync and how to save copies of drawings, like from the progress set or from the submittals or whatever, into the field folder.
Hey, Will, the only question I have is on the packing slips, do you have that for iPad accessibility?
Like when something gets shipped in the warehouse?
Yeah, for those guys to actually type in what they want on their packing slip, or is that directly from?
Oh, as far as material ordering. Yeah, so this is something that is going to be structured a little bit differently depending on the job. I have mine within the material orders within my field folder, where again, I have a material order sheet template this is the material order sheet we use when we're sending in an order to the warehouse for someone to order. This is again something that somebody would be able to open up and type up on their own to create their own one. Again, it's something you might want to talk to the foreman about, because as a crew leader, you might be able to put in the material you need, but there might be other crew leaders that are also ordering material. The foreman might know something. So if you just make a material order for yourself and say, hey, we're sending this into the warehouse, there might be other stuff that need to get added. So I would talk to the foreman, maybe talk to the other crew leaders, but it could be something on your job site. If you notice that it's, your foreman's really overtaxed and it's every time it comes time for material orders, they don't have time to send it in, or they're always sending it in late, might be a good idea for you to be like, hey, I know where to find the template for that on the iPad. I can start writing those up for you if you want to, give me a little bit of responsibility. Let me take control of that for you. Try to help them out. Any other questions on file structure or where to find files or folders? Okay.